Today's video is all about my Viseart palette. Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be ranking my Viseart palette. I've got a total of 10 of them and that's what we'll be talking about today. When it comes to Viseart or any of this palette, it's not going to be about the quality, at least not according to price, because a palette that you got for £100 is going to be different to the palette that you bought for £20 in terms of quality. But compared to the other palettes in the market, this is what we'll be talking about. Viseart makes the most phenomenal palettes. There are mattes, there are shimmers, there are glitters, anything. All of their palettes are of the highest quality. So we are not going to be talking about the quality today. It's not about them being a sham palette. We're going to be talking about which one of them is right for you, and that's the order in which I have ranked mine. Is what I like about them, what I don't like about a particular palette. I love all of them, but I have to rank them. So one has to come first and one has to come in at number 10. Okay, so coming in at number 10 is my Viseart Theory 2 Minx palette, and as you can see is a neutral palette. So that's the only reason why it's coming in at number 10. I'm not really a neutral person. Obviously there are some places I have to go to and I have to tone down my looks, and this is where this kind of palette come in. But generally, if I were to pick a palette, this will not be in my top palette, and that's why it's coming in at number 10. And it's not about the shimmers. The shimmers are great. It's not about the mattes. That's great as well. And one thing you need to know about Viseart eyeshadows is they might not swatch well, but on the eyes they are fantastic. They blend well, they layer on top of each other, they don't skip, it works, as far as I know, it works with any eyeshadow base. So don't care about the swatches. I mean, this even swatch well. Some of the mattes don't swatch well at all. They can be of a dry texture, but trust me, on the eyes they are phenomenal. I actually have a video on the Grand Pro 3 palette, which I will link to this video, but that's just beautiful. Look at that palette. For me, it's just about the shade range. It's too neutral for me, and that's why it's coming in at number 10. In ninth position is my Spritz Edit palette, and this is what that looks like. It's orange. Even though I love orange, it's not enough variety of orange for me. My favorite shade is that one, and I would say I mainly bought it for that color. I mean, that's more of a peachy tone to me, and you know that's why this is coming in at my number 9, even though all of the shades are phenomenal. I mean, I mostly love this color, as I said, and I like the peachy orange shade as well as this golden one here. But in terms of using all of the palettes, I don't tend to use all of the shades in there. So this for me is number 9. In the 8th position for me is going to be the Petite 5 Pro Soleil palette. It's actually called Petite Pro 5 Soleil palette, and this is what that looks like. It's a very colorful palette. The reason why it's coming in at number 8 for me is because there is no other mattes to really blend out the very bright shade, because that's a matte, the yellow is a matte, as well as that one there. So if I use the purple, it hasn't got any shade in there for me to blend out the purple with, and that's the only reason why it's coming in at number 8. And if I just swatch a couple of them for you. I mean, look at that. So it's nothing to do with the quality. And if I just let me swatch the bright purple as well. So it's a very good palette. It's just because it's not complete. For me to use this, I have to dig out another palette to use it, and I don't tend to like that, especially when I'm in a rush. So this is why this is coming in at number 8. Coming in at number 7 is the Warm Edit palette, and this is what the Warm Edit palette looks like. I mean, this column is the column that sold me. The reason why it's coming in at number 7 is because of this column, because as far as I'm concerned, I could have done without that column. If there were other shades in this column, it would have ranked higher for me. I mean, this is pretty much useless to me, so I don't like that. I mean, and if I swatch some of the shades for you, it's an absolutely beautiful palette. Look at that. So beautiful. I love everything apart from that color. And if I could replace it with other colors, definitely this would have ranked higher for me, and that's the only reason why it's coming in at number 7. Okay, in the 6th position for me is gonna have to be the Koi palette, which is an all shimmer palette, and this is a beautiful, absolutely gorgeous palette. It's got shimmers that you are not likely to see in a lot of palettes. I mean, this green, this other green, and this other green. Which other shade should I swatch? This is absolutely beautiful. Look at that. They are so beautiful, and let's just quickly swatch them. Can you see? Absolutely gorgeous, gorgeous shades. And the only reason is a number 6 for me is because it's an all shimmer palette. It means when I have to use it, I have to dig out another palette to use it, and that's the only reason. I mean, as you can see, my swatches, they were just beautiful. This is a really, really beautiful palette, but you just have to use it on another palette. Or if your preference is an all shimmer look, then I suppose it might rank higher for you. You might prefer this, you know, as to any other palette. But for me, I don't do an all shimmer look. I can do an all matte look, but just not an all shimmer look, and that's why it's coming in at number 6 for me. Alright, the next palette is coming in at number 5 for me, the same as with the Koi palette in number 6. The reason why this is number 5 is because it's an all shimmer look. I mean, and this is what the palette looks like. This palette is absolutely beautiful. It's the Grand Pro 2 palette, and it's all shimmers, but not that it's just all shimmers. Every column is a different formula. So you have your glitters, you have your foil shades, you have your topaz, you have your proper shimmers, but each and every column is a different formula, and that's why I love this palette. It's absolutely beautiful. Some of them you cannot just apply on your eye. You're gonna have to use a glitter glue or a glitter primer if you like, but they are absolutely gorgeous. I'm just trying to see which ones to this. I know this definitely, this is the shimmer column, and this is definitely the foil column. That is the glitter column, and if I swatch this other column as well, see, that's actually breaking on me. So let's see what the swatch. Oh my god, this is duochrome. Oh, can you see? And the green from one of the other columns, purple, and then finally that. Look at how gorgeous these shades are. I mean, you cannot go wrong with this palette. You can definitely not go wrong. I mean, you can do anything. You've got variety of shades, you've got variety of formulas. It's so beautiful, and the only reason it's coming in at number 5 for me again is because it's an all shimmer look. I'm not going to put that all over my lid without any other palette. I'm going to have to use, you know, a matte, and that's why the Grand Pro 2 is number 5 for me in my Viseart palette ranking. Just so you know, these palettes are currently on sale on the Beauty Bay website, and I'm sure as the Black Friday sales draw near, all the other sites are going to put the Viseart palettes on sale as well. So be on the lookout if you really want one of them, but I would advise get one of them. Honestly, you will not regret it, especially when it comes to the big 12-pan ones or the pro ones, or you know, the big ones. They are the ones to me that are mostly worth the money in terms of Viseart palettes. The next few palettes I'm going to rank are my favorites, and it was very difficult for me to actually rank them, but I just had to rank them, you know, for one reason or the other. So for me, at number 4 is the Neutral Matte Milieu palette, and this is an all matte palette, and is absolutely beautiful. Again, these mattes layer on top of each other. They blend well. In fact, they blend themselves. You don't need to do much work. Literally, if you want to do your eye in 2 minutes, you can do both eyes and you are out of the door. It's absolutely worth investing in. These shades are gorgeous, and it's very difficult swatching them because you sort of think, oh no, that's rubbish. The problem is they don't swatch well. They don't swatch well, but on the eyes they are so beautiful. I mean, if you check out the video I did, you will see how beautiful they were applying on my eyes. So beautiful. So don't judge it by the swatches. Don't judge it by the swatches. Judge it by the color story. And for me, this is number 4. Only because, again, it's an all matte. I would have to use a different palette with it, like a shimmer on top of it or something. Even though I do tend to do an all matte look, but it's not my preference. Again, I always like a mixed look, and that's why this is number 4. Just because it's an all matte palette, but it's absolutely gorgeous. Coming in at number 3 is my Editorial Bright palette, and this is what that looks like. And according to the name, it's bright. It's really bright. I love this eyeshadow palette as it saved a lot of looks. It's so pigmented, it's blendable, it builds on top of each other. It's just a perfect rainbow palette. Honestly, the formulas are so beautiful. I mean, you often see this kind of shades and you think it's not going to blend well or it becomes patchy. This does not become patchy. Even the purple is absolutely beautiful. Absolutely beautiful shade. I love this palette. I love it so much. I've mixed it with a lot of your indie brand single shades, single shimmers. I've done it's so versatile that you can use it with anything. You even add it to another palette or whatever it is that you want to do. And it's number 3 because, again, I won't use this on its own. I will use it with a shimmer or some other palette. But in terms of performance, this is absolutely beautiful. If you love colors, this is for you. Trust me, there's no dud in this palette. No single shade is a dud. They all perform excellently. The last 2 ranking was actually so difficult for me. Really difficult. And the reason is because coming in at number 2 is my Dark Edit palette. This is my all-time Viseart favorite palette. I love the shades. Every single shade is beautiful. You can do multiple looks with this palette. I mean, look at that. So beautiful. Whatever shade you don't have in matte, you've got in shimmer. It's really a beautiful palette. And if I swatch 3 of the shades for you, you'll see what I'm talking about. So that's the yellow, the green, and the purple shimmer. They are absolutely beautiful. This palette is, for me, it ticks every box. For me, this ticks every box. I love this palette. I love to use it all the time. It's just, you can't go wrong. You can't go wrong with Viseart palette. And to top it up, they always come with a cover. So it's not a case of your shimmers falling off. You have a cover to protect your shade. So you just literally put this over when you're storing it, and it protects your shade from cracking or anything dangerous, happening to your palette. It's an all beautiful palette, I tell you. You can never go wrong. Well, that means we've come to number 1, and my number 1 eyeshadow palette from Viseart is the Grand Pro 3 palette. Look, just look at this palette. Take a minute and look at it. There's no color you want. Even the colors that might be missing from this palette, you can mix it together to form that shade. This formula, oh my god, there's no other formula on the market, and trust me, I have over 350 eyeshadow palettes, so I know what I'm talking about. There is no other formula that is as good as the Viseart mattes. I'm telling you that. I'm not talking about shimmer, I'm talking about mattes. Their mattes are absolutely gorgeous, and this palette has ended up saving me a lot of money because I've been able to mix it and match it with other shades to avoid buying a new palette, because it's just everything. I have a tutorial with this where I did an all matte look, and that's very unusual for me. I don't tend to do an all matte look, and I don't tend to do an all shimmer look, but this, when I used the greens, oh, absolutely, it came out beautifully. I used the matte for the inner corner highlight, for everything, really matte. It was beautiful. Layers on top of the other, blend so beautifully, minimal effort, literally minimal effort. No matter how much of a newbie you are at eyeshadow application, Viseart Palettes will always treat you right. Honestly, if you find these on sales anywhere, just grab one of them. They are so beautiful. And something else that I did not mention, why I love the Viseart shadows, especially these kind of shades, is you can pop them out. So you can literally pop one out and build a palette for yourself. So if I pop out the yellow, so they are magnetic, so you can actually pop them out and build your own shade. And something else they have is they sell an empty palette. So this is my empty palette, and you can literally build what you want. So the one I took out of my Pro 3 palette and place it, you know, all over, just to build your own palette. Okay, so I've gone ahead and pulled a couple of shades from my own other palettes to build this palette. Isn't this beautiful? Isn't this just so beautiful? This is what you can do. You can literally pop out shades, you know, from different palettes. I've popped out a couple from my Grand Pro 2. I popped out a couple from my Grand Pro 3. And just literally all over the same sized palette, and this is what I came up with. I mean, on a daily basis you can just pop these colors out, get ready for the week, and you know, this can be your palette of the week. This is absolutely beautiful, isn't it? I love that concept, and that's part of one of the many things I loved about Viseart eyeshadow palettes. You can never go wrong. Honestly, this is the best time to buy it now that there is ridiculous sales, you know, all over on them, because they're usually very expensive because of the quality. But you have 30% off there, 35%, you know, even close to Black Friday you probably even get 40% off. I mean, the other day Love Makeup was doing a ridiculously sales on them. So this is the best time to get yourself a Viseart palette. They are an investment. When you have one or two, you won't need as many shadows unless you're a weirdo like me that just loves to have different kind of palettes. You know, there's no logic to it for me, but it's just what I love. I rather have eyeshadow palettes than I have clothes. I can count the number of clothes I have and count the number of shoes I have, but when it comes to eyeshadow palettes, they just, for me, it's just a thing. So unless you're like me, then fine. But if you're not like me and you just want a couple of eyeshadow palettes, then Viseart is the way to go, because you can mix and match, especially when you buy an empty palette like this and then pop your shadows in, or even empty one of them and then just use it as your mixing kind of palettes. You see, it just makes it worth the while. It makes it worth every penny. That's my Viseart eyeshadow palette collection and ranking. I hope you've enjoyed this video. If you have, please give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing to my channel. And happy shopping on this Black Friday. I wish you every bit of luck on them shopping for the right palette, but I thought I'll share my own collection. Okay, until next time, I'll see you.